Have you ever wondered why some people seem to stay energetic, mentally sharp, and physically active well into their 70s and 80s, while others begin feeling older much earlier? For decades, scientists believed aging was simply an unavoidable countdown programmed into our biology, a slow and irreversible process that affected every cell in the body. But recent discoveries are challenging that assumption in a fascinating way. Researchers have uncovered evidence suggesting that one of the most important drivers of aging may not be wrinkles, hormones, or even genetics alone. It may be something much smaller, tiny structures inside your cells called mitochondria. And what scientists are now learning about these microscopic energy factories is changing how we think about health, longevity, and the aging process itself. Even more surprising, evidence suggests that under the right conditions, the body may be capable of creating new, healthier mitochondria throughout life. This process has become one of the most exciting areas of longevity research because if mitochondria play a central role in how we age, then understanding how to support them could influence everything from energy levels and metabolism to brain function and long-term health. And what researchers discovered next may surprise you. To understand why this matters, we need to begin with a simple question. What actually causes aging? Most people think of aging as something visible: gray hair, wrinkles, loss of muscle, reduced stamina, slower recovery. But these outward signs are only the surface of a much deeper biological story. Inside the body, trillions of cells are constantly working to keep us alive. Every heartbeat, every thought, every movement, every breath. All of these processes require energy, and nearly all of that energy comes from mitochondria. Mitochondria are often described as the power plants of the cell. Their primary job is converting nutrients and oxygen into a form of usable energy called ATP. Without ATP, life simply cannot continue. Your brain relies on it, your heart relies on it, your muscles rely on it. Even your immune system depends on a constant supply. What makes mitochondria especially interesting is that they are not passive structures. They are dynamic. They communicate with other parts of the cell. They respond to environmental signals. They adapt to stress, and they constantly change throughout life. For many years, scientists viewed mitochondrial decline as a consequence of aging. But researchers later discovered something surprising. Declining mitochondrial function may not simply be a result of aging. It may actually help drive the aging process itself. As mitochondria become less efficient, cells produce less energy. At the same time, cellular stress can increase. Tissues may become less resilient, recovery may slow, and functions throughout the body may begin to decline. Scientists have observed links between mitochondrial dysfunction and many conditions associated with aging. These include metabolic disorders, reduced cardiovascular function, cognitive decline, loss of muscle mass, and decreased physical performance. This doesn't mean mitochondria are the sole cause of aging. Aging is extraordinarily complex, but evidence increasingly suggests they play a central role. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Researchers discovered that mitochondria are not fixed structures that simply wear out and disappear. The body possesses mechanisms capable of generating new mitochondria. This process is known as mitochondrial biogenesis. In simple terms, mitochondrial biogenesis is the creation of new mitochondria inside cells. Think about that for a moment. Your cells are not necessarily stuck with the mitochondria they have today. Under certain conditions, they can build more and potentially healthier. This discovery opened an entirely new field of research. Scientists began asking an important question: what signals tell the body to create new mitochondria? The answer led to one of the most fascinating findings in modern health science. The body often responds to carefully controlled challenges by becoming stronger. This concept is sometimes called hormesis. A small amount of stress can trigger adaptive responses that improve resilience. Exercise is perhaps the best known example. When you exercise, especially at moderate to vigorous intensities, your muscles experience temporary stress. Energy demand rises dramatically. Mitochondria are pushed to work harder. In response, The body activates a series of biological pathways designed to adapt. One of the most important involves a molecule known as PGC1 alpha. While the name sounds technical, its role is surprisingly straightforward. Many researchers describe it as a master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. When activated, it helps initiate processes that encourage cells to produce more mitochondria. In other words, movement creates a signal. That signal tells your cells they need greater energy producing capacity, and the body responds by upgrading its internal machinery. This may help explain why exercise influences so many aspects of health simultaneously: improved endurance, better metabolic flexibility, enhanced cardiovascular function, greater insulin sensitivity, and healthier aging trajectories. However, that's not the most interesting part. Scientists noticed that some of the benefits associated with exercise appeared even beyond muscle tissue. Research began revealing effects in the brain, and the findings were remarkable. The human brain represents only a small percentage of total body weight, yet it consumes enormous amounts of energy. Neurons are highly dependent on healthy mitochondria. When mitochondrial function declines, energy availability may decrease. Researchers believe this can influence cognitive performance and brain resilience over time. Studies have found associations between physical activity and improved markers related to brain health. Some evidence suggests exercise may help support mitochondrial function within brain tissue, potentially contributing to memory, learning, and cognitive performance as people age. This was an important clue because it suggested that mitochondrial health isn't just about physical energy, it's also connected to mental energy, focus, attention, and cognitive vitality. Yet the real discovery came years later. Researchers started examining populations known for exceptional longevity, people who remained active and healthy far beyond average life expectancy. These communities shared many differences: different cultures, different diets, different environments. But one pattern appeared again and again: regular movement. Not necessarily intense athletic training, not marathons, not elite competition, instead, consistent physical activity woven naturally into daily life. Walking, gardening, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, working outdoors. These activities continuously stimulated energy-demanding systems throughout the body. Over decades, that may create conditions that support mitochondrial maintenance and renewal. The implications were profound. Perhaps longevity wasn't simply about avoiding disease. Perhaps it was also about continuously sending signals that encourage the body to maintain cellular performance. But exercise is only part of the story, because scientists eventually uncovered another powerful influence on mitochondrial health: nutrition. Most people think about food primarily in terms of calories, protein, carbohydrates, fat. But researchers increasingly view food as information. Every meal sends biological signals. Some signals promote adaptation, others may interfere with it. One of the most intriguing discoveries involves compounds naturally found in certain foods. Plants produce thousands of bioactive molecules. For years, scientists assumed many of these compounds served little purpose in human health. Now that view is changing. Research suggests some plant compounds may activate cellular defense pathways that help cells respond to stress more effectively. Among the most studied are polyphenols. These naturally occurring substances are found in foods such as berries, colorful vegetables, herbs, spices, tea, and certain fruits. Scientists have become interested in polyphenols because they appear capable of interacting with pathways linked to cellular resilience. Some research suggests these compounds may influence mechanisms related to mitochondrial health, inflammation regulation, and metabolic function. What makes this especially interesting is that plants evolve these molecules for their own survival. Yet humans may benefit from consuming them as part of a varied and nutrient-rich diet. And this is where the story becomes even more fascinating. Researchers discovered that mitochondria do more than produce energy. They also communicate. In fact, mitochondria participate in a vast network of cellular signaling. When mitochondria are functioning efficiently, cells receive different messages than when mitochondria are under stress. These signals can influence metabolism, inflammation, adaptation, and cellular maintenance processes. In other words, mitochondria are not merely batteries, they are information centers, and understanding that changed how scientists viewed aging itself. Rather than seeing aging as a simple accumulation of years, researchers increasingly began studying aging as a process involving communication breakdowns between biological systems. As mitochondrial communication changes, the effects may ripple throughout the body. Yet another surprising discovery was waiting. Scientists investigating aging repeatedly encountered a process known as autophagy. Autophagy is sometimes described as the body's cellular recycling system. Cells identify damaged components, break them down, and recycle useful materials. This process helps maintain cellular quality control. One specialized form, called mitophagy, focuses specifically on mitochondria. Damaged or dysfunctional mitochondria can be removed so healthier populations can be maintained. Think of it as routine maintenance for your cellular energy network. Without maintenance, performance gradually declines. With maintenance, systems may function more efficiently for longer periods. Researchers believe mitophagy and mitochondrial biogenesis work together. One removes older or damaged components, the other helps generate replacements. The balance between these processes may be important for healthy aging, and this balance appears to be influenced by lifestyle factors: physical activity, sleep quality, nutrition, metabolic health, stress management. These factors don't act independently, they interact continuously, creating signals that influence cellular behavior over time. Most people never hear about what happened next. Scientists began realizing that many habits traditionally associated with healthy aging may share a common biological denominator. They support the body's ability to maintain mitochondrial quality. Suddenly, findings from different fields started connecting: exercise science, nutrition research, brain health, longevity studies, metabolic medicine, all pointing towards similar mechanisms. The implications were enormous because it suggested that everyday behaviors may influence biological pathways previously thought to be beyond our control, not through magic, not through shortcuts, but through consistent interactions with the body's natural adaptive systems. And in the next part, we'll explore the most surprising discoveries of all, including the emerging science of fasting and mitochondrial renewal, the connection between blood vessel health and cellular energy, why certain foods appear to activate protective biological pathways, and what Dr. William Li believes may be some of the most powerful, evidence-based strategies for supporting healthy aging from the inside out. Because the future of longevity may not be about fighting aging, it may be about understanding how the body already knows how to adapt, repair, and renew itself. One of the most intriguing questions in longevity science is whether the body has built-in mechanisms that can help maintain cellular performance as we grow older. For decades, researchers focused primarily on what causes damage, but more recently, attention has shifted towards something equally important: what activates repair. And that shift has led scientists into one of the most fascinating areas of modern health research: fasting and metabolic flexibility. At first glance, fasting seems simple. You go for a period of time without eating. But inside the body, an extraordinary sequence of events begins to unfold. Under normal conditions, cells are constantly processing incoming nutrients. Energy is readily available. Growth pathways remain active. Resources are abundant. However, when food intake temporarily declines, cells receive a very different message. The environment has changed. Resources must be used more efficiently. Researchers have observed that this shift activates a variety of adaptive pathways involved in cellular maintenance and resilience. Among these pathways are processes linked to autophagy and mitophagy. Remember those cellular cleanup systems we discussed earlier? Scientists believe periods of reduced nutrient availability may help encourage cells to perform maintenance tasks that are often postponed when energy is constantly abundant. This does not mean fasting is a cure-all, nor does it mean longer fasting is always better. but evidence suggests that strategic periods without food may trigger biological responses associated with cellular housekeeping and metabolic adaptation. And this is where the story takes another unexpected turn. Researchers discovered that healthy aging may depend not only on producing energy, but also on delivering it. No matter how efficient mitochondria become, they still require oxygen and nutrients. Without an effective transportation system, even healthy cells can struggle. That transportation system is your vascular network. More than 60,000 miles of blood vessels travel throughout the human body. Every tissue depends on them. Every organ relies on them, and their health appears deeply connected to longevity. This connection has become a major focus of Dr. William Lee's work. Researchers studying blood vessel biology have found that healthy circulation supports tissue function throughout the body. Blood vessels deliver oxygen, they deliver nutrients, they help remove waste products, they participate in repair processes, and they influence how efficiently cells can perform their jobs. Scientists now understand that blood vessels are not merely plumbing. They are living tissues actively involved in maintaining health. When vascular function is supported, tissues may receive more consistent access to the resources they need, including those mitochondria working around the clock inside every cell. Yet researchers later discovered something even more surprising. Certain foods appear capable of interacting with pathways involved in vascular health. For years, nutrition discussions focused largely on vitamins, minerals, protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Those nutrients remain important, but researchers have increasingly turned their attention toward naturally occurring compounds that influence biological signaling. Foods such as berries, leafy greens, tomatoes, garlic, pomegranates, green tea, cocoa, citrus fruits, and cruciferous vegetables have attracted significant scientific interest, not because they possess magical properties, but because they contain complex mixtures of bioactive compounds that appear capable of interacting with human physiology. Some evidence suggests these foods may help support healthy inflammatory responses. Others may influence oxidative balance. Some appear linked to vascular function. Others may affect metabolic pathways associated with cellular resilience. And perhaps most fascinating of all, many of these foods are common components of dietary patterns consistently associated with healthy aging. Researchers studying long-lived populations repeatedly observed diets rich in minimally processed plant foods. Not identical diets, not perfect diets, but dietary patterns emphasizing variety, nutrient density, and whole food sources. This consistency across cultures caught scientists' attention because despite differences in geography and lifestyle, similar themes kept appearing. And that raised an important question. Could aging be influenced less by any single superfood and more by the cumulative effect of thousands of small biological signals generated by everyday choices? Evidence increasingly suggests the answer may be yes. The body responds continuously to its environment. Every meal, every walk, every night's sleep, every period of stress, every recovery period. These inputs shape biological responses over time. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the relationship between sleep and mitochondrial health. Most people think of sleep as a period of inactivity. In reality, it is one of the busiest times in the body. While consciousness fades, critical maintenance activities continue. Hormonal systems recalibrate. The brain clears metabolic waste. Memory processing occurs. Repair mechanisms become active. Researchers have found that sleep deprivation can influence metabolic regulation, inflammation, cognitive performance, and cellular stress responses. Scientists also believe sleep plays an important role in maintaining mitochondrial efficiency. After all, energy production and recovery are inseparable. The body cannot continuously spend energy without dedicating time to restoration. And this is where modern lifestyles often create challenges. Artificial light, irregular schedules, late night eating, chronic stress, constant stimulation. These factors may interfere with biological rhythms that evolved over millions of years. Researchers increasingly view circadian health as a foundational component of longevity. Circadian rhythms are internal timing systems that help coordinate biological processes throughout the day. Virtually every cell in the body follows these rhythms, including cells containing mitochondria. When circadian patterns become disrupted, scientists have observed changes in metabolism, hormone regulation, and cellular function. This does not mean occasional late nights are catastrophic, but it highlights an important principle. The body functions best when major biological systems remain synchronized, and synchronization appears to support efficiency. Efficiency supports resilience, and resilience is one of the defining characteristics of healthy aging. However, that's not the most interesting part. One of the greatest misconceptions about aging is that decline happens suddenly. Research suggests something very different. Biological aging often develops gradually through countless small changes accumulated over decades. This may sound discouraging. In reality, it can be empowering, because if aging reflects the accumulation of many small influences, then health may also reflect the accumulation of many small positive influences. A 10-minute walk, an earlier bedtime, a nutrient-dense meal, strength training twice a week, managing stress more effectively. None of these actions appear dramatic on any single day, yet their effects may compound over years. This concept is increasingly supported by longevity research. Scientists studying healthy aging repeatedly find that consistency often matters more than perfection. The body responds to repeated signals, not isolated events. And this understanding has transformed how many researchers approach prevention. Instead of waiting for problems to appear, the goal becomes maintaining function for as long as possible. Protecting metabolic health, supporting vascular health, maintaining muscle, preserving cognitive function, encouraging cellular resilience. These objectives may sound separate, but they are deeply interconnected. And mitochondria sit at the center of many of those connections, which brings us to another remarkable discovery. Muscle may be one of the most important organs for healthy aging. That statement surprises many people. Most individuals think of muscle primarily in terms of strength or appearance. Researchers see something far more significant. Muscle tissue plays a major role in metabolic regulation. It helps manage glucose. It influences insulin sensitivity. It supports mobility. It contributes to balance and independence. And importantly, muscle contains enormous numbers of mitochondria. Scientists have observed that maintaining muscle mass and strength is strongly associated with healthier aging outcomes. This does not require becoming a bodybuilder. It simply highlights the importance of preserving functional strength throughout life. Resistance training, bodyweight exercises, carrying groceries, gardening, climbing stairs, and other forms of physical activity may help provide signals that encourage muscular adaptation. And where muscular adaptation occurs, mitochondrial adaptation often follows. Yet researchers discovered another hidden factor influencing longevity: social connection. At first, this may seem unrelated to cellular biology, but the relationship is surprisingly profound. Humans are social organisms. Our nervous systems evolved in groups. Our stress responses evolved in groups. Even our health behaviors are influenced by social environments. Studies have found associations between strong social relationships and healthier aging outcomes. Researchers believe social connection may influence stress regulation, behavior patterns, emotional well-being, and physiological resilience. Why does this matter for mitochondria? Because chronic stress can affect many biological systems involved in energy regulation. When stress becomes persistent and unrelenting, the body may shift resources toward short-term survival priorities. Over time, this can influence metabolic and inflammatory pathways. Scientists continue investigating exactly how these relationships work, but the broader message is becoming increasingly clear. Health is not merely biochemical, it is behavioral, psychological, social, environmental, and cellular. Everything is connected. And this is where the story comes full circle. When people hear phrases like regrow mitochondria or reverse aging, they often imagine a breakthrough pill or futuristic technology. The reality emerging from research is both simpler and more profound. The body already possesses extraordinary adaptive capabilities. Cells can create new mitochondria. Damaged cellular components can be recycled. Blood vessels can respond to healthy stimuli. Muscles can adapt. Metabolic systems can improve flexibility. The brain can remain remarkably responsive throughout life. Of course, aging remains a natural biological process. No scientist has discovered a way to stop it completely, and no single intervention eliminates it. But researchers increasingly recognize that biological age and chronological age are not always identical. Two individuals born in the same year can experience aging very differently. Lifestyle, environment, genetics, behavior, nutrition, physical activity, sleep, and stress all interact in complex ways. And many of those interactions appear to converge on pathways involving mitochondrial function and cellular resilience. That realization is changing the future of preventive medicine. Instead of focusing exclusively on treating illness after it develops, researchers are increasingly exploring how to preserve function before major decline occurs. How do we maintain energy production? How do we support vascular health? How do we preserve muscle? How do we maintain cognitive performance? How do we improve resilience? These questions are shaping the next generation of longevity science. And perhaps the most encouraging discovery is this. Many of the factors associated with healthy aging remain accessible to ordinary people. Regular movement, strength training, quality sleep, whole food nutrition, stress management, meaningful relationships, time outdoors, metabolic health. None of these interventions promise perfection. None offer guarantees. But together, they create biological conditions that may support the body's natural maintenance systems, including the remarkable mitochondria working inside your cells right now. The tiny structures helping power every heartbeat, every breath, every thought, every step. For years, aging was viewed primarily as a process of loss. Today, researchers increasingly recognize another side of the story: adaptation, renewal, maintenance, resilience. The science continues to evolve. New discoveries will undoubtedly emerge. Some current theories will be refined, others may be challenged. That is the nature of scientific progress. But one message remains remarkably consistent. The body is far more dynamic than researchers once believed. It is constantly responding, constantly adapting, constantly rebuilding, and the choices made today help shape those responses tomorrow. The decisions we make today may seem small, but over years and decades, those choices can shape how we age, how we feel, and how long we remain healthy. That's why understanding the science matters, because longevity is not simply about adding years to life, it is about adding life to years.